If my life were a mathematical equation, faith would be the variable I always assigned a value of 0. I am an atheist, a rationalist to the bone. I believe in Newton's law of universal gravitation. I believe in DNA sequences. I believe in compound interest rates at the bank. But I do not believe in things that cannot be seen or touched. For me, Sunday has always been a day to sleep in, to reset my brain after a stressful week of crunching numbers, or to sip black coffee in a familiar corner of a cafe, watching the crowd pass by while taking pride in my intellectual freedom. Last Sunday, however, was an exception. An odd exception that upended the orderly arrangement of my worldview. I went to church. Don't get me wrong, I didn't suffer any earth-shattering catastrophe. No heartbreak, no bankruptcy, and no terminal illness. I went there, quite honestly, out of pure curiosity mixed with the arrogant challenge of an outsider. I wanted to see, in that place people call a sanctuary, what on earth have they been doing for centuries? Why, in this age of AI and space exploration, do people still flock there in droves? I prepared myself like an explorer stepping into the Amazon rainforest, equipped with skepticism as my shield, and carrying eyes of scrutiny like a microscope to find the flaws in this superstition. At 8 a.m., I stood in front of the church gates. In my imagination, fueled by Hollywood movies and old prejudices, a church was supposed to be a somber, cold place, filled with people dressed in black, wearing stern expressions, walking softly as if afraid to wake up the stone statues. But reality slapped me in the face with a painful sting. As soon as I stepped through the gates, what struck me was not gloom, but an overload of energy. It was loud, it was bustling, and it was brilliant. A group of people stood in a line at the door, dressed in their best, most polite outfits, and they were smiling. Good heavens, they were smiling so brightly I had to squint. "Hello, welcome to the church. So glad to see you this morning." Hands reached out. Firm, warm handshakes. Eyes looked straight into mine, shining brightly without a hint of pretense. My internal radar blared a red alert. Careful, this is probably some mutated pyramid scheme. Who is this happy with a stranger? I looked closely at the face of the man shaking my hand. He was about my age, dressed simply but neatly. The corners of his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the sign of a genuine smile, the Duchenne smile that science has proven cannot be faked. He didn't know who I was, didn't know if I had money, didn't know my past. But that look, it held a welcoming warmth as if I were a brother returning from a long journey. I squeezed inside, finding a secluded corner near the back of the auditorium to observe and escape if necessary. I looked around. The people here, from the elderly to the young, weren't sitting silently glued to their phones like in a coffee shop. They turned to each other, asking questions. "How was your week? Has the baby's fever gone down? Thank God I'm doing well." They hugged. Tight, comforting hugs. I saw happiness clearly on every face. It wasn't an over-the-top, manic happiness, but a sense of peace and ease. In a society where a minor traffic bump can lead to a fistfight, the atmosphere of harmony and care beyond the norm here shocked me. A positive culture shock. I asked myself, don't they have worries? Don't they have deadlines or debts? Why can they set it all aside to be so joyful with each other? Then the service began. The lights in the auditorium dimmed. The band stepped onto the stage. Drums, electric guitar, piano, violin, fully equipped like a rock ballad band. I crossed my arms over my chest, legs crossed, telling myself, Let's see, probably some droning, sleep-inducing songs. But when the first note rang out, I realized I was wrong again. The music wasn't sleepy at all. It was powerful, majestic, yet strangely poignant. Everyone stood up in unison. They clapped to the beat. They sang. I stood up too, out of politeness, but kept my mouth shut tight. I looked up at the screen projecting the lyrics. Words flashed by. Grace, redemption, precious blood, he loves me. My logical brain started parsing the syntax and semantics. I didn't understand. To an outsider, these were abstract, meaningless technical terms. Why blood? Why the need to be saved? Am I in some kind of danger? I smirked internally. But then, the melody changed. The driving drums gave way to a tinkling piano and a sobbing violin. A hymn with a slow tempo began, and this was when the strangest thing happened. I don't know how to describe it accurately. At first, I only heard with my ears, but gradually, the sound seemed to bypass my eardrums and went straight into my chest. I saw the people around me change their demeanor. They stopped clapping. They closed their eyes. Some raised both hands high, reaching toward the ceiling as if trying to grasp something invisible. Others placed their hands over their hearts. I looked to my side. A middle-aged woman, dressed elegantly, was crying. She wept openly, tears smudging her makeup, but she didn't care. She sang, her voice trembling but full of emotion. I looked to the other side. A young man with tattooed arms, head bowed low, his shoulders shaking. What is happening here? My reason panicked. Is this mob mentality? Is it hypnosis? I tried to hold my shield steady, but somehow a hot sensation began to creep from my spine up to the back of my neck. The melody of the song felt like soft needles, pricking exactly the calloused spots in my soul. The unexplained sadness, the pressures I thought I had hidden so well, the loneliness I masked with a cold exterior. Everything was suddenly stirred up. I felt like an electric current was running through me. Not a painful shock, but a warm current enveloping me, a sense of being protected. Yes, that was exactly the feeling. Like when you are a child, afraid of thunder, hiding under the covers, and suddenly a mother's hand rests on your shoulder saying, "It's okay. Mom is here." Suddenly my eyes stung. Ridiculous. You're a man. You're an atheist. You are not allowed to cry over these songs with lyrics you don't understand. I screamed inside my head. But tears do not listen to logic. One drop, then two, rolled down my cheeks. I frantically wiped them away, afraid someone would see, but then I realized no one was looking at me. They were busy with their own private dialogue between themselves and the being they worshipped. In that moment, I felt incredibly small, yet not at all alone. I felt as if I were standing under a giant, invisible dome, shielding me from all the storms of life outside. An indescribable peace filled my chest. A peace that meditation sessions or expensive vacations had never brought me. While I was drifting in that strange stream of emotion, the music stopped. The host stepped out. Now is the time for offering to the Lord. Aha, here it comes. I snapped out of my trance. My skeptical ego revived instantly. I had read online, heard rumors that going to church costs money. Everyone is forced to give 10% of their income. It's an unwritten rule. I clutched my wallet tightly in my pocket. Don't even think about it. I'm just here to watch. I'm not buying a ticket for this show. I rolled my eyes, looking around to see how the tax collectors would appear. Velvet bags were passed down from the front rows. But then, the host on the podium said something that stunned me. To our friends who are visiting for the first time, this offering is an act of gratitude from God's children to Him. If you do not yet understand the meaning of offering, or are not ready, please just let the bag pass. Do not feel pressured or obligated to do anything. Your presence is already our joy. I was dumbfounded. No coercion. Really? The bag reached my hand. The person sitting next to me smiled, handing it to me gently. I took it, looked inside. There were envelopes, small bills, and large bills. I hesitated for a second, then passed it to the next person without putting anything in. No one glared at me. No one frowned. There were no cameras scrutinizing that action. The person receiving the bag from me still smiled and passed it on. That freedom commanded my respect. It turned out the rumor about mandatory 10% was a misunderstanding, or at least they didn't apply it to newcomers like me. I saw the people around me putting money in respectfully, as if they were giving a gift to a lover, not paying a tax. They gave because they wanted to, not because they were afraid. That respect dismantled the last of my defensive barriers. I relaxed into my chair, breathing a sigh of relief. Then the pastor stepped up to the pulpit. He didn't wear a robe, didn't hold a scepter. He wore a suit and tie, looking like a TED Talk speaker. He opened a thick book, the Bible. The topic that day was about forgiveness and burdens. Honestly, to my logical mind, this sermon was a jumble of difficult concepts. He told stories from thousands of years ago. Someone walking on water, someone swallowed by a fish, stories of resurrection. My reason constantly flashed red lights. Illogical. Unscientific. No empirical evidence. I sat there, frowning, trying to find loopholes in his arguments. But if I pushed the miracles aside, his messages about the human worldview were surprisingly sharp. He spoke about how modern humans carry too many invisible pressures: the pressure to succeed, the pressure to be perfect, and the pain of being unable to forgive oneself. God doesn't need you to be perfect. God needs you to be real, he said. You don't need to carry the whole world on your shoulders. Give that burden to Him. That sentence hit me. Me, a person always straining to prove myself, always afraid of failure, always tormenting myself over past mistakes. I realized that even though I didn't believe in the miracles he recounted, I craved the philosophy of life he was preaching, a philosophy of letting go and loving. I told myself, maybe I'll try reading this book. Who knows? Maybe amidst those myths lie the codes to decipher human psychology. The final touch, the thing that completely knocked down my cold skepticism, was the children. When it came time for general prayer, I saw a group of kids, some just toddlers, some elementary age, standing in the aisle. They weren't playing on phones, weren't screaming to go home. They clasped their tiny hands together, squeezed their eyes shut, their faces incredibly serious in the most adorable way. I heard a little girl whisper, "Please, God, let Grandma's legs stop hurting. Please let me do well in school." My heart melted. Out there, children are swept up in TikTok, games, and the apathy of technology. But here they are taught gratitude, taught to pray for others. That image was so pure, so holy. It contrasted completely with the calculation and deception of the adult world I face every day. I suddenly felt jealous of them. If only I could believe as innocently and completely as that, my life would surely be much lighter. The service ended. I intended to sneak away quickly, but I wasn't fast enough. People swarmed out and surrounded me. This time I was no longer afraid or defensive. A few young men came to shake my hand, asking my name. They didn't ask, "What do you do? How much is your salary? What car do you drive?" Like in social networking events. They asked, "How did you feel today? Was it very strange for you?" Genuine concern, like long-lost relatives. Then someone pressed a Bible into my hand. Black leather cover, smelling of fresh paper. "A gift for you. If you have time, try reading the book of John. It's really good." I held the book, feeling it heavy in my hand, but my heart feeling incredibly light. I walked out to the parking lot in an indescribable state of euphoria. The feeling of connection, of belonging to a community, even though I wasn't a member yet, was stronger than I imagined. When I got home, I still couldn't shake that atmosphere. I brewed myself a hot cup of coffee, sat down on my familiar sofa. The room was quiet, but the melodies from earlier still echoed in my head. I opened my phone, searching on YouTube for the songs I had just heard. The melody played. I took a sip of coffee, closed my eyes, and let the music envelop me once more. Strange. Me, an atheist, a man who specializes in using logic to break down every religious argument, was now sitting listening to hymns and feeling happy. I'm not fully a believer yet. My mind still has thousands of questions. Is God real? Does the Bible contradict itself? I will still have to debate, read, and research a lot. That's just how I am. Not easily convinced. But one thing I am certain of, my heart has been touched. The feeling of being loved, protected, and at peace that I felt this morning was real. More real than the numbers on my Excel spreadsheets. I looked at the Bible on the table. Perhaps this afternoon, instead of watching Netflix, I'll try opening it. If you are reading these lines, and you are like me, rational, skeptical, or simply feeling that this life is too cold and meaningless, I advise you sincerely. Try going to church once. Don't worry about having to believe right away. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about not knowing anything. Just go. Go to sit and listen to the music, to see the smiles, to watch the children pray. Go to let your dry soul be watered a little. Who knows? Maybe you will find a frequency of peace amidst the storm of life, just like I did. As for me, if you'll excuse me, I have to go read and see who this John guy they recommended is. Have a wonderful Sunday.